Like articulations, expressions can affect playback if desired. All of the expressions included in Finale include playback effects, if the effect is possible in the MIDI environment. The playback effect is designed in the Text Expression Designer. Let's open the designer from the Expression selector by choosing Quadruple Forte and clicking Edit and clicking on the Playback tab. The type of effect is defined here, and the settings for that effect are set here. The drop-down menu has 17 different options. Once you set the type of effect you want associated with the expression, you enter the effect options. The valid values are dependent on the data type. If it is MIDI data, like this, it can be a value of 0 to 127, which represents the potential data values in MIDI terms. For other data types, such as tempo, values higher than 127 can be used. So for this quadruple forte mark, the key velocity, which equates to loudness, is set to 127, which is the maximum value. Let's look at the mezzo forte dynamic. The velocity is set to 75, and the pianissimo is set to 36. If I enter these into the score, you can see what happens to the dynamics. When the dynamic is encountered, Finale sends the soft synth or the contact player a code, telling it to lower the velocity of the staff to the value we saw in the effect parameter. The expression selector gives you the velocity effect value in the description of many of the dynamic expressions. All of the dynamics use this method of volume control, but notice that Forte Piano and several others do not include a playback effect. This is because the effect cannot be reproduced using the soft synth or Garriton library. Let's scroll down to the tempo markings. As you can see by the descriptions, the marks adjust the playback tempo. If I edit the Adagio mark, you can see that this mark will adjust the tempo by setting the quarter note to equal 40 beats per minute. And the Allegro mark sets the tempo to 120 beats per minute. Let's look at a few more examples. The Accelerando mark will execute a tempo change using this shape. In other words, it will change the value of the tempo field to increase over time until a new tempo marking is encountered. The Ritardando mark will do just the opposite, by decreasing the values of the tempo field until the next tempo marking is encountered. The 8VA mark will change the transposition by setting the effect value to 12, which will make the playback 12 semitones higher than written. The Loco mark will set the transposition to 0, which will make the playback sound as written. Since playback effects are included for all the expressions that come with Finale, you typically only need to modify these to make subtle changes or if you are designing a new expression, which we'll talk about next. Another thing that affects playback is the Begin Playback At setting in the assignment window. For note-assigned expressions, you can choose to have the playback effect start on the note to which the expression was assigned, or start at the position of the mark. This lets you move the mark after it's been assigned to a note, and have the playback effect start a little later or a little earlier based on the mark position. Or, if the mark must be moved to avoid collisions with slurs or other marks, you can have the playback effect start on the note to which the mark was assigned. For measure-assigned expressions, you can choose to have the effect start in the beginning of the measure, regardless of the position of the mark. Or if you move the mark to another position in the measure, you can have the playback effect start at that position.